When I was growing up, I didn't think that I will be so and so professional. Growing up in Shimla, I never thought that I would actually go and manage one of the biggest tech partnerships in the world. My name is Neeti Gupta. So I grew up in north of India in a small town called Shimla. It's up in the mountains, it's in the foothills of the Himalayas. And in winter, we would spend a lot of time together because it would snow there. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, does it snow in India? Yes, it does. It used to snow there, and we would hunker down and we would spend a lot of time just kind of hanging out with each other. You know, I liked studying and I was good at math, I was good at art. So I spent a lot of hours drawing, solving puzzles and math problems for fun. I know it sounds geeky, but I just enjoyed it. And there was always the atmosphere at home that I could go do what I needed to do. My mom was the stabilizer. She built that harmony. She performed at the radio station, so she had her own show. I still remember on Sundays at 3 o'clock, Mrs. Gupta would be presenting, and I remember going to the radio station with her. So she liked the creative arts herself as well. In Shimla, there used to be this flower arrangement competition. So every summer, she and I would participate, and we would go find flowers. So the first activity was go gather all these flowers. So that required going and asking either the neighbors or other people, because we had some flowers in the garden, but for the competition, we wanted to get the best flowers. The people said no to me. Of course, of course. And then I learned how to say please and thank you, and how to be a delightful child too. And so, she kind of let me lead that and figure it out. And then, every year we started winning those. So we started winning those competitions, and that I think also success brings success. So she kind of taught that if you put yourself out there, you figure it out, then you're able to accomplish something. We always talk about it even today, like that was, and it still is my favorite thing, is to do something with her. She said, you have an outcome in mind. And for us, it was winning that flower arrangement competition that year. And then you have to figure out how to get there. It was never easy, because you have to ask for the resources that you don't have. In this case, it was flowers. And I kind of fast forward today, what I do, I think I have benefited from that experience, because early on I knew that you're going to get a lot of no from many people. Then how do you kind of figure out how to change that no to a yes? So what happens is we have to get really creative, and we also have to ask a lot of people and figure out amongst a lot of stakeholders. And you're going to get a lot of no's, but there'll be someone who's going to say yes. And that's what is going to then help you get to that goal in the partnership. And I do think that, that learning to ask and learning to not be defeated by a no is a secret recipe for success that nobody tells you. People like winning together. Everyone wants to get behind success. So if you can kind of tell the story of how you're going to get there and have that vision, you will get there. I was 18. India economy had just started kind of growing. Bill Gates had founded Microsoft here in the US. And then one of my friends, high school friends, I was just visiting her on the way back from school, and she said, hey, I have this form for the school and I can't give it this year, so why don't you? And so I just filled out that form. And those days you had to physically fill out forms. I applied it. I don't think even Dad knew that I had applied. And then the results came that I got into this really esteemed deemed university for School of Planning and Architecture in New Delhi. And I still remember it was just Dad and me, and Dad said, yeah, you're going to go. And yeah, I had their support. There weren't that many women in that, at least that batch. I think we were 6 of us out of 75 men. There were other men. So I think it was amazing, and it was a great experience because that school is in Delhi. Delhi has a lot of exposure. That opened doors and possibilities for me, right? I guess had I just stayed in Shimla, I probably would have not moved. And so then I went to Bombay and the British government scholarship, right? And then I became almost like an explorer, right? I got to travel the world and I got to see what was possible. And there was no going back then. Yeah, and then I had met Vikram in architecture school. I didn't think I was going to get married to him, but Vikram was consistent. He was very clear about his vision. He had found me. Yeah, I think my parents, my brother and I sometimes talk about it. Our parents were open-minded themselves. And if we wanted to do something, they would get behind it. I mean, it was true for when we selected our partners. Because my parents met Vikram for the first time at our wedding. Yes, it's a true story. Because they said, we trust you. So when I moved here with Vikram in 2001, we moved to Seattle. That was very interesting times because 9/11 just happened that year. The economy had tanked. There were no jobs really, even for people who were here. And I was trying to look for a job. I couldn't just rely on laurels. I had to start from scratch. And that's a classic immigrant story, right? You kind of figure out what you want to do. And then I just had to figure out, because I had the outcome in mind, I just now had to figure out how I get there. So I applied to a bunch of schools because that's what I knew at that point. And so I applied to MIT. I didn't think I would get in. I got in. And then, I did 2 years there for my master's, and that opened doors for Microsoft Research. And Microsoft hired me, and then that was history because I was there at Microsoft for 10 years.
In my first couple weeks at VMware, I got to meet Neeti Gupta. And I just remember us immediately connecting over the fact that we actually wanted to get shit done. So we started working together on the Microsoft operations stuff. And through that, I got to know her a little bit better, and we got to spend more time getting to know each other personally. I just remember her stopping. We were in Palo Alto, and we were on a street corner. And I remember her just looking at me and going, this is where I know that there's now more to life than just work. And that was, I think, a real meaningful moment. Yes, meaningful moment for me.
The advice I have for other women is keep an open mind. Look at the trends in the industry, study them, make that effort. And, when you meet with people, keep those connections. And, a lot of people have told stories about overcoming something that's difficult. But the story that I'm telling you today is really, the opportunities come, you take them, you have this positive outlook towards life, and you just keep going and find the right people who balance you. And then support you, because that's how you get where you want to go. Or you meander and enjoy the moment, which is also fine, by the way.